Good.
How are you all doing?
Good.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surrounded by music, so I figured I would, do the first thing that any front man or woman does for a band and rile up the audience. So how's everybody doing tonight?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you all for coming out. I really do appreciate it. I'd like to thank Darren and also Chelsea for putting this on. It's amazing that everybody comes out to support the arts. I also like to thank Lee for hosting, providing such a wonderful space, and also to my colleagues in the department, to my students, and also to the people who I see in the audience who I don't know. I hope to get to know soon. So, I'll start with the poem Just As Well for Joseph Lease. A man feels a world go by, taken in from up on a dim-lit sixth-floor balcony, while the city drains into one vast system of storm clouds and cold fronts, its rooms half-lit and radio waves waded through. Instantly, everything's inside the aerodynamics of gravity and the fatalist's final radio cast. And just past Start Soma Gallery, past St. Mary's Laundry, and past the new Unique Motel, the city swings in, sturdy as a freight train, its string of coal cars a tangled roar. At some stage, its estimated fear and fearlessness to be equal at 50%. Either the night will become a deep clangor and din of mixed stars, or it won't. But that's what the man likes about disappointment, that it's neither interested in an arbitrary building up of tensions, nor an intense sense of grace, but like a mouth folded in prayer, speaks for a broken world not yet lost. So every month, and I'm a bit behind, I give myself an assignment to write a narrative poem because sometimes my work doesn't necessarily move in that direction. So this is a narrative poem that I wrote maybe a few months ago that I thought might be fun to read. I haven't read this in a while, so. Nielsen ratings. When I sit to enjoy my cup of French roast with Abigail beside the fireplace, the moon and my waistline pull tight, and her brother laughs at frustration beveling into my face. Hal's smart and photogenic, and his sister is beautiful. She loves Donizetti and tragic opera as I do, but Hal is unaware. After Abigail and I make love, she confides in me that he's subject to his own loneliness and low self-esteem. I tell her I sense it in the fugue and counterpart of his voice. But Abigail and I daily cradle each other's heat in our arms, moan Act 3 empty of its morose notes every evening. Nevertheless, some observe that Hal's slow to notice I'm Abigail's Lyle Lovett and she's my Julia Roberts. Thus the world watches and waits as last night's faint stars in the fallow sky wait, glued to the pixelated trees and glowing screen below, for Thursday night's rerun to determine if the moments we craft are timeless, if I'm as much Abigail's Edgardo as she is my Lucia. So the next few poems really are, they're part of my book manuscript, City of Slow Dissolve, that's currently out for review. The book is separated into 3 parts, and they're all centered around city parks. So the first park is Acacia Park, which is in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Then we move to Lincoln Hills in Michigan, and then to Byrne Lake in southern New Mexico. The book itself really examines identity, displacement, and the construction of the self. So you'll hear a lot of poems somewhat centered around that. And I'll read a few poems in sequence and then explain a few as well. The first poem is Body Subjectivation Anchor, 1979. It's with July, its impermanent white days and lullabies, its humidity stealing off the gray of cars, that I define summer's withering away, the way a child after all becomes. The child, Wasatch Avenue's birdsong in the anchored sun. The child's hands, yearning for more grass, anthills, train-pressed pennies and soil. The child, a burning photograph. The body, a cinder of waste. the voice and amphitheater of noise. I define the child, a coda of discordant music. I cast doubt on recovery. I sharpen the notes made flat, revise the guises, and box in the shimmering pines. Sun over the schoolhouse roof, I raise one letter and the next. Build a child to resume true the common kestrel in moonlight. The body's invention everywhere distant, its meaning against the city's pellucid light diffusing. The next poem, somewhat interesting. Years ago, I went to the Boston Poetry Marathon, which was actually put on by one of my former mentors in my master's program, Joseph Lease, the poem that was dedicated to. And sitting in the audience was Franz Wright, though I didn't know that it was actually Franz Wright at the time. And he got up and read, and I just, from then on, fell in love with his poetry. So this is Just North of Nowhere. There's only one heart in my body, have mercy on me, Franz Wright. The changes one yearns for, one has to suffer, unless, sunning near the undershade, the thin leaf alder, the juniper, etc., the world is close to blooming. Somniloquist it is, and tuned to the open sun. Then, how simple to assemble it all, the breaks in the human vessel. Like a cathedral rock pulling rain beneath a tangle of aspen, you'll build a grotto in your chest. Fill it with offerings and prayer. Once filled, votive light will exit like a lullaby from the rib cage's hollow. There you will find a heart, and nightly you will sing it to sleep. So I often explain these kinds of poems just by saying that I often write love poems, not necessarily to a significant other in my life, but maybe to the notion of a significant other. And it's really sort of a conglomeration of I think, all the best traits, which are usually all of the traits of a woman that I do know and have in my life. So, Dust of Industry, Autumn. When the sunken day threads in, love the fields of dowries and plunder the sky with topiary. Imagine us, a limb of wreckage and sunrise near the riverbed, our bodies doleful as birchlight, tightened there as a fist. Imagine the light will lift off our shoulders, autumn's leaves discontinued, its treed fields derailed. Who will believe in this love-making, this embroidery of notable limbs? Surely not us, verbing the reverie. October so drawn, morning's disconnectedness, a coda, that just as often follows the seduction, the silence of this dithering brightness, leaves us in the morgue of ourselves. Our lust let out like the perfume of a poor man's orchid before the first freeze.